Om. 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Yapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tat Padam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedya Gravinam Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Yata sarvani bhutani pratibhanti stitani cha yatrayavo pashamam yanti tasmai satyatmane namaha. So where are we in our text?
We're in chapter 18, section 3, starting on verse 31-33.
Catch all that?
Yeah, but do you know what page that's on, Mark?
185.
Okay. Section 3. Kevalli Bhavaha, the state of aloneness or final liberation.
Yes.
Evam kalitavan anta prashantam ana naishanaha shanairucharayastanta pranavam prapta bhumikaha jahau indriyatan matram tamo matram jahau tataha uttishtat prastu puradrupam shanam tejo vicharya saha tyaktva tam cha babhuvatha na tamo na prakashanam. Vitahavya, who had thus reckoned within, his thinking and seeking calmed or subdued, and the yogic step or state of transcendence, one, abandoned the subtle elements of the senses, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell, slowly uttering the mystic syllable Om. He then abandoned the mere darkness that followed. Then, having meditated for a moment upon the light rising with a form or lustre, spreading far and wide, and having given up that also, he was in the state which was neither darkness nor illuminating.
So this is interesting. What it intimates is what we go through when we die. And if you've been around anybody or heard people talk about a near-death experience, of course, they don't go all the way, but first there's this darkness, and then oftentimes they're out of the body and looking down at the physical body. And then there's a tunnel, and people come to meet them, and then there's a light, just as the scripture says. And many people say in the presence of that light, your whole life passes in front of you. And it's a judgment, but not like there you are at traffic court. What we considered important is revealed to us, and what is important is revealed to us. What's not important? Your money, your house, your car, your job, what you've accomplished. What is important are the small acts of real kindness that we do to one another. The Master Jesus talked about this. He says, when I was hungry, you gave me food to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me water to drink. When I was homeless, you gave me shelter. And they say, Master, we didn't do any of this stuff for you. When did we do this for you? And Jesus says, whenever you do this to the least of these, my people, you have done it unto me. So very important readjustment of our priorities. Another way to frame it, the shortest way to heaven is the detour we take to help someone else. But here Vitahavya goes even beyond the light to that place that is neither dark nor light. So beyond what those who have near-death experiences get. You get in front of the light, and then you get the choice, you're going to go on or you're going to go back. Oh, I have a son to take care of. Okay, back you go. That's why they're near-death experiences and not death experiences. Next verse.
तामवस्थामर्थासाध्य निमेषार्धात्मनोपतत् ततोऽङ्ग संविदं स्वस्थां प्रतिभासम् उपागताम् निमेषार्धभागेन कालेन कलनाजहौ. Now, having reached that state, the mind fell or was cast away in half a nimesha or fraction of a second. Then in one half of a nimesha or a small fraction of a second, he gave up putting on the self-abiding part consciousness or individualized consciousness, which had come to perception.
So this can also be talked about samadhi as well as death. So he drops the mind, it just stops. And then he gives up the jiva bhavana, the ahankriti, let go. Let's see what happens next.
Pashyanti padamasadhya sattamatraत्मकं ततः सुषुप्त पदमालम्ब्य तस्थौ गिरिरिवाचलः. Having reached this step or position of pashayanti, or perceiving, which is of the nature of mere being, he then remained immovable like a mountain, resorting to the abode of profound repose.
Yeah. So nothing moved. Everything is still. If we take this section to be talking about meditation, the deep, nirvikalpa samadhi, or going beyond those lokas wherein one might be then impelled back to another birth. Going on.
सुषुप्ते स्थैर्यमासाद्य तुर्यरूपम् उपाययौ निरानन्दोऽपि सानन्द सच्चापि तत्र सः चिन्मयो चिन्मयश्चापि नेति नेति यदुच्यते. Having obtained firmness or steadiness in that state of profound repose, he arrived at the state of Turiya or Turiya, the fourth state of consciousness. There he was blissful, though devoid of bliss, was existence or being as well as non-existence or non-being, and full of consciousness as well as not conscious, which is described as not this by the philosophical portions of the Vedas, that is the Upanishad.
Yeah. So again, some scholars think of Turiya as a fourth plane of consciousness, a super conscious state. But actually, Turiya is another name for yourself. We call it the fourth because in Mandukya, it's the fourth in the series of topics discussed. But Gaudapada is very clear. It's not the fourth like the four legs of a cow, waking, dream, deep sleep, and Turiya. No. I am the unmoving awareness, and waking, dreaming, and deep sleep is ever moving in me. But I am never touched by it. Going on.
ततः तत् सम्भवो वासौ यद्गिराम्प्यगोचरः पुरुषो यो हि साख्यानां ब्रह्म तथा शिव शैवम् अतस्थानं सर्वं सुसमचेतसां यत्सर्वशास्त्रसिद्धान्तो यत्सर्वहृदयानुगं यत् अनुत्तम अनिष्पन्दं दीपिकं च सामपि स्वानुभूत्येकमात्रं च सर्वं च सर्वगं तथा यत् एकं चाप्यनेकं च विचरामरणं पदम्. Then he became that which is indestructible even by speech, which is the Purusha or the person or the spirit of the Sankhyas, the followers of one of the six orthodox schools of philosophy. So also the Brahman of the knowers of Brahman, the name by which the Supreme Spirit or the ultimate reality is referred to in the Vedas. Shiva of the followers of the cult of Shiva or the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to this sect, and the all of those whose minds are even or wholly good, which is the true logical conclusion or the established view of all the scriptures, which corresponds to the heart or inmost being of all, which is the unsurpassed and steady illuminator of even luminous bodies, which is of the nature of one's own direct cognition only, which is the all and also the all-pervading, which is the one and also the many, and which is the abode devoid of decay and death.
Yes, pretty straightforward and clear. And if you have a devotional practice, remember what Kena Upanishad says. Chapter 2, Mantra 3. it is not that which you worship here, or all of the forms and names of God are just masks, costumes. What it is yourself. Aham Brahmasmi. I am Sarvam Kalvidam Brahm. All this is verity. Next one.
त्रिंशद्वर्षसहस्राणि परिहृत्यैवं यथा सुखं वीतहव्यशशामैवं पुनर्जन्म विवर्जितः. Having passed 30,000 years thus at pleasure, Ritahavya became quiet or extinguished, destitute of rebirths.
So the idea is in this deep understanding, this renunciation of everything, the cause for rebirth is gone. Now, this is a trick statement. The easiest way to approach it. Right now, I think I am in the body and I don't want to take up another birth, or, oh, I want to be a fabulous musician next lifetime. And the idea is there's something that's me that's in the body. And Krishna is very clear. He implies that early on. I think it's in the 4th chapter. All this is strung on me like jewels on a thread, the Mani Sutre. But then later on, in the 7th chapter, he talks about, well, actually, I am not in them, they are in me. What does he mean by that? The easiest way to understand it is, do you incarnate into a dream? In the dream, it feels like I'm in the dream body, looking out at a dream world with dream thoughts and feelings inside. But I am not in the dream. The dream is in me. The illusion of Swapnajiva Bhava, of the individual in the dream, is just that, it's imagination. This is no different. So at the moment of the deepest realization, the jnani sees, oh, I was never really born in the first place. It was all a very long, very vivid dream. That's why there is no rebirth for me, because I was never born in the first place. Well, what about this body, mind, intellect? Will I have another body, mind, intellect? The Lord's Maya goes on. Babies are born every day. But the person of steady wisdom has no concern for it anymore. perfectly willing to never have a body again, perfectly willing to have a body again. It makes no difference because I have no body. And then Krishna says a few verses later, actually, they're not even really in me. I dream I'm driving a sports car. I don't have to wake up in the morning and put the sports car in the drawer of my dresser. Poof, gone. Going on.
Section 4. Chittanasho dvividhaha. The two kinds of disappearance of the mind.
Nasho means actually like destruction, isn't it?
Yeah.
So chitta, the mind stuff, the two kinds of the destruction of the stuff of the mind. Going on.
Sri Rama Uvacha Jivan Mukta Sharirānam Katham Atma Vidamvara Shaktayo Neha Drishyante Akasha Gama Nadikaha. Sri Rama said, best among knowers of the self, how is it that powers like moving in the sky are not seen here in the bodies of those liberated while living?
So here is a common error that many people have. There are marvelous human beings who have siddhis, powers. They may be great healers. They may be able to fly through the air. They may be able to teleport. They may have psychic powers to be able to read other people's minds. Is there a relationship between siddhis and self-realization? Siddhis are like big muscles. If you look at early videos and photos of Arnold Schwarzenegger, he has muscles in places I don't even have places. How do you do that? You work out very hard. Do you both go to the gym?
Yeah.
Why don't you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger? Yet. Why?
Working out that much.
Say that again.
Not working out that much.
Oh, okay. What's the relationship between big muscles and self-realization?
Nothing.
What? I thought buffed yogi was the goal.
That's how they
Huh?
that's how they sculpt all the gods.
All right, let's see what Vasishtha says.
Vasishtha Uvacha Anatmavit Amuktopi Nabo Viharanadikam Dravyamantra Kriya Kala Shaktaya Prapnoti Raghava. Vasishtha said, Raghava, one who is not the knower of self, though he is not liberated, obtains abilities like moving in the sky by the power of suitable materials, sacred words, religious rites, and opportune time.
So what it is over lifetimes the result of tapas. That's all it is. Now, many yogis have done these practices in other lifetimes. So they may spontaneously reemerge in a lifetime. But they, in and of themselves, are only the fruit of mental practices. It's like building mental big muscles. Now, what it shows us is what the human being is capable of is so much more than we think. So you look at a great master like Jesus, who performed miracles, raised people from the dead. He is not the great exception. He's the great example. He shows us what a human being is capable of. Someone once asked him, "Why do you work miracles?" And his answer was, "Lest they see signs and wonders, they will not believe." What was the gospel message? The kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Follow me, do what I do, and you will see as I see. I and the Father are one. That was his message. People didn't believe it, but he was a miracle worker. That gave them faith. All right, going on.
नात्मज्ञस्येष विशद्य आत्मज्ञो ह्यात्मदृक् स्वयं यच्छे यस्येच्छा विद्यते काचित् स सिद्धि साधनत्वलम्. It is not so with the knower of the self. Because the knower of the self is himself the self-knowledge, that is, he has become the undivided consciousness devoid of subject and object, and hence desireless. Let the person to whom even a little of desire exists secure enough powers.
Yes. So for the person for whom these powers are attractive, knock yourself out. But the jnani, the jivan mukta, has the maha siddhi. What is the maha siddhi? Peace of mind, fearlessness. The Brahmananda Rasaswad, as Vidyaranya calls it. She has the taste. The Jivan Mukta is free from the tyranny of rape. Going on.
आत्मज्ञस्य तु पूर्णस्य नेच्छा सम्भवति क्वचित् परमात्मा पदं प्राप्तौ नोपकुर्वन्ति सिद्धयः. To the knower of the self who is fulfilled, on the other hand, desire does not arise in any case. Such powers or abilities do not assist in the attainment of the abode of the Supreme Self.
No. Yet, if you are in the Raja Yoga tradition, the acquisition of cities are things that you can go for along the way. What they will do is give you some ability to be single-pointed of mind. What they will give you is a deeply rooted, direct experience that the phenomenal world is far more plastic than we think it is. Those are of value. But that's very small. This is my particular viewpoint. So we have the four great branches of yoga: karma yoga, bhakti yoga, raja yoga, jnana yoga. Karma yoga is for those people who meet the world through their body. They're active. My older brother, they didn't have this when we were children. He probably would have been diagnosed as ADHD. Can't stand to be inside, loves to be outside, always doing. He's an athlete, loves surfing, all that sort of stuff, scuba diving. You know what his meditation is? He teaches Tai Chi with his body. And even now, at the age of, he's going to be 79 next month, November, 2 months, he's still crawling around on boats, working for the Coast Guard as a volunteer. After 30 years in the military as a Marine Corps officer, karma yoga. Great karma yogi. Bhakti yoga is for those who connect with the world through their emotions. What are our emotions all about? In the end, you could say the greatest thing we'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. This is paramount for some of us, to love. So for them, love God, discover the Parama Prema. Love God till you disappear. The Raja Yogis, listen carefully, is the path for those who are interested in power. I'm not interested in powers. I'm just doing my. But if you think, what are the benefits of these things? Health, pranayama, I'm going to do kriyas and all this sort of stuff. Some sort of ecstatic experience, having siddhis, having mystical experiences, powers, internal and external. Jnana yoga is a non-intellectual path for intellectuals. It's for people who want to know what is true, what's the highest. So it's a way of working with the mind that gets us out of the mind. Now that's my breakdown of the four main branches. Now, many of us have a combination of those kinds of temperaments, and we are attracted to an integral yoga. They're all good. And even in the Raja Yoga tradition, it joins with the Jnana Yoga tradition when we go dharana, concentration, dhyana, meditation, and samadhi. All right, going on.
Sri Rama Uvacha Vita Havya Tanurmagna Katham Klimna Na Bhutale. Sri Rama said, How was the body of Vitahavya, which was immersed within the surface of the earth, not wetted, that is, not affected by underground water and the like?
Yeah, so how come he didn't decay? He had an incorruptible body. What was he there, 300 years, something like that?
30,000.
Oh, 30, well, they're close. Going on.
Sabhyan bhagyantara spanda chittajo vatajothava na yasya vidyate tasya durasthau kriti tikshayao. Change and destruction are far away from one to whom there is no movement, external and internal, produced by the mind or the vital air prana.
So, what the scriptures say is when you're in the deepest meditation and all the prana has been gathered and the breath is still, there is no aging. Now, this may or may not be hyperbole. You guys remember John Frohmeyer?
Mhm.
So he's a hatha yogi, and he was reading a book about masters in the Himalayas who, through doing pranayama, lived 400 years. Guru Bawa, who was around in the 70s, I think he died at something like 120. So there is no doubt that asana, pranayama, meditation, these various kriyas can extend human life. More than that, they help make the life you do have healthier. My friend DC Rao is one of these integral yogis. He's deeply committed to the Chinmaya mission, but he also hangs out at the Himalayan Institute in Pennsylvania and does asana, pranayama. He's like 88, he might even be 90 now. And he goes trekking in the Himalayas. Very vital, healthy guy. Some yogis have no desire for that. I'm proud of them. But the point is, these various practices certainly make us happier and healthier. Frankly, I think the greatest contributor to disease is dis-ease in the mind. I don't care how much pranayama you do. If you're filled with resentment and anger and despondency, you'll probably get sick. So anyway, there is a connection. Many people who are regular meditators find that their breathing, their blood pressure settles down. Not everyone. Going on.
Sab Sabahyan yantare shante spande pavana chetasoho dhatava samsthitim dehe na tyajyanti kadachana. When the movement of the vital air and the mind is extinguished or stilled, externally and internally, the essential ingredients of the body, dhatus, never abandon their residence or continuance in the body.
So this, of course, the caveat here is as long as the udana hasn't pushed the ejection button. But you find that we have lots of stories of what are called incorruptible saints. So one of them was Paramahansa Yogananda. So he was in Los Angeles. When he died, they sent his body to Forest Lawn Cemetery. I mean, you can't get much more Western than that. No embalming, but there was like weeks, and he had no corruption in the body. Finally, there was a little spot on his nose. It was written up in the Los Angeles Times. And certainly in the Catholic Church, there's a tradition of the incorruptible saints. Saints who have this deep, deep connection with God. And when they died, their bodies didn't corrupt. Some of them did. Corruptible or incorruptible is no measure of holiness. God is good for your health, is the bottom line here. Okay, going on.
ये तु विज्ञातविज्ञेया वीतरागा महाधियः विच्छिन्नग्रन्थय सर्वे ते स्वतन्त्रात्तनौ स्थिताः. All those who have known what is fit to be known are free from desire, possess lofty knowledge, and have the knots of ignorance torn asunder, remain in the body self-dependent or uncontrolled by external nature.
Yes. So for the person of steady wisdom, they may be mindful of their prarabdha, and they get the intuition when it's over. And they have a conscious exit from the body. Not all. But many do. They sit in the lotus posture and achoo, out they go. I remember Swamiji saying something weeks, maybe months before he left the body. He was so sick. And he says, "Oh, my disciples won't let me go." He knew his karma was essentially over. It was our desire for him that kept him in the body, according to him at that point. I think there's probably some truth to it. He was so frail, and the body was just literally falling apart at the end. But no, did he have a conscious exit from the body? No, he was under general anesthetic having open heart surgery. All right, going on.
Sri Rama Uvacha Vivekabhyudayat Chitta Swarupen Hirte Munehe Maitreya Dayaguna Kutra Jayante Mam Prabho Vada. Sri Rama said, on account of the rise of discrimination, when the natural state of the mind of the sage has vanished, where are virtues like friendship born? Lord, tell me this.
So, why does the jnani tend to act as a virtuous person in the world if all the desires of the mind, the desire to do good, is gone? See what he says.
Vasishtha Uvacha Vividha Chittanashosti Sarupa Sarupo rupa evacha jivan muktau sarupa syat arupo deha mukti jaha. Vasishtha said, the destruction of the mind is of two kinds, with form and without form. It is with form in liberation while living. That without form is born in liberation without the body.
So the idea is whilst the Jivan Mukta is perceived to be walking around in the world, as opposed to when they croak. So let's see what else he says.
Chitta satteha dukkhaya, chitta nasha sukhaya tu, chitta sattam kshayam nitva, chitta nasham upanayet. The existence of the mind is for misery, that is productive of sorrow. The destruction of the mind is for happiness, that is productive of happiness. Leading the reality of the mind to decay, let one bring on the destruction of the mind.
So the paradigm for the mind that is thundered in this text, we're not talking about the flow of thought. That in and of itself is not problematic. We're talking about Jiva Bhavana. I think I'm a person. That has an inherent sense of lack. I'm not enough, there's not enough. And then there's a goal. The goal only takes two forms. I need to either fix or change the world or fix or change me. And the third element is kartavya, struggle. That is the fruit of spiritual ignorance. That's my problem. To remove those is the destruction of the mind. How do I remove those? Shankara says it is the annihilation of the vasanas here and now. That's considered liberation by the wise. Or as Krishna says in Gita, when a person casts off all the desires of the mind, O Partha, and is satisfied in the self by the self. And Brahmananda, then they're said to be a person of steady wisdom. Let's see what he says. Going on.
Sukha dukkha dhyavashtabdham asmit yeva vinishchalam vidyamanam mano vidhi sansara drumade sansaram drumadohadam. Know the mind as existing, which is supported by happiness and sorrow, and very still only on the cognition I am. It is the longing of the tree of worldly existence at budding time. There's a
At
note
what time?
at budding time, like a bud.
Okay.
There's a note, maybe that would explain it. Legend has it that the Ashoka tree longs for the kicks of young ladies, and the Bakula for the sprinkling of mouthfuls of liquor at budding time, just as pregnant women have peculiar longings during the period of pregnancy. When the tree of worldly existence brings forth the diverse objects, it is the mind which arises first, which in turn generates the world.
Okay, so that's this mystic symbolism. But the idea here is it is the deeply rooted belief that I am bereft of happiness. That's that condition that I've been calling spiritual impoverishment. I'm not enough, there's not enough. From that, desire generates. And that is the cause of the world. Freedom from that brings peace. Going on.
Sukha dukkha dasha apat mado mandhyam mahotsavah yam nayanti na vairupyam tasya nashtam manoviduhu. They consider his mind as lost or destroyed, whom states of happiness and misery, misfortune, pride, dullness, and jubilation do not lead to difference in nature or outlook.
Yeah. So where the person has this sama drishta, where I know I never change, I can't be diminished, I can't be improved, there's no person there. Letting personal information just pass through. Oh, you're really wonderful. Let it pass through. You're terrible. Let it pass through. Nobody home. And knowing, oh, I want, fill in the blank. That's just the force of the past. It's stupid. Don't fall under its tyranny. Going on.
Maitrya gunai yuktam bhavat vasanam bhuyo janma vinirmuktam jivan muktasya tanmanah saruko saumano nasha yatra bhanti guna ime. That mind of the person liberated while living, endowed with virtues like friendship, is possessed of excellent mental impressions and is set free from rebirths. That is the destruction of the mind with form where these virtues shine.
So these virtues come naturally to the Jivan Mukta for several reasons. First, they're the habit that's been developed from lifetimes of sadhana. And secondly, the Jivan Mukta sees every person, every being as themselves. Going on.
Arupastu mano nasha videham mukta jo bhavet samagragra yagunadharam api sattvam praliyate. The destruction of the mind without form, on the other hand, is produced by liberation without the body. Even the existence of the mind, which is the repository of all the foremost virtues, is completely dissolved.
Yes. So the physical body goes back to the gross elements. The subtle body goes back to the subtle elements. There's nothing left but you. Going on.
Chittanashe virupakhe na kinchidapi vidyate na guna tatra na harsha samvidah. In the destruction of the mind named without form, not even a little of anything exists, neither virtues nor faults, nor the consciousness of pleasure or anger exists there.
Everything's gone. Gate gate param gate parasam gate. Bodhi swaha. Gone. gone, completely gone beyond. Fully awake. Wow. Going on.
इति श्रीवशिष्ठसङ्ग्रहे वीतहव्योपाख्यानं नाम अष्टादश सर्गः. Thus ends the 18th chapter titled The Story of Vitahavya.
Okay. So I think this is a good place to stop a little bit early again tonight. Does anyone have thoughts or questions? Going once, twice. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Tat Sat.